It's Thursday. Everybody, we're in the skating room, but trust me, we are going to move back upstairs to the NASA room going forward. Hopefully, we don't get too many sidetracked like we did here today. But again, everybody, the meeting is going to be on Thursdays moving forward, not on Tuesdays like we've had for, I think, since the inception of this committee. So, same town information for accessing it. The telephone number is 1-646-558-8656. And the webinar ID, if you go to the Town of Orleans web Zoom, our webinar ID is 894-8156-7866. Peggy, do we have any public comment? I know we have Alexis here. Do we have anybody else?
No hands raised.
Great, thank you. Where do we want to have Alexis join in at this point? Do you have a preference?
Pardon?
Alexis, were you just joining in to listen, or were you, okay, that was you had said about this other thing, so I thought maybe.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Listening as a normal citizen.
Okay, cool, very good. All right, so then why don't we, with no public comment, why don't we, if I could have a motion to approve the meeting, the minutes from last month's meeting, I would greatly appreciate that.
Move to approve the minutes of June 16th.
Susan, maybe, I'm so sorry, because we do have a new minute taker, maybe when you make a motion, if you could just say your name so she gets used to you.
Susan Carlson. I move to approve the minutes of June 16th.
That's Scott Flood, I move to second.
All right, well, thank you, appreciate that. I guess we'll move right on to,
Oh, we need a vote.
You need to vote.
oh, thank you very much. I'm all jacked up. Okay, can we have a vote here? Susan, Scott
Yes.
already approved, right? Approved.
I, Mary Wright.
I, Fran Starro.
Hi, Mallory Quarles.
And I guess I should give my name to her, to Tom Jerkowski. All
She
right.
also knows who's here, so that's good.
Yeah, we'll have to try our best here. So, good. All right, so I guess we'll move on to item number 4. Elizabeth?
So as we are transitioning to, I provided you a July monthly housing report. Not too much new in the world today, but thank you for all the great feedback on the metrics that we got last time. We're still adjusting these to make sure they're useful. We will get the housing production metrics in there hopefully next month. Really just one thing to call this board's attention to. Wanted to continue to update you on the Governor Prince redevelopment, sort of 2 aspects of that project. The first one being the permitting for the purposes of zoning and other local approvals. That comprehensive permit application is at the Zoning Board of Appeals. They've held 2 hearings. They continued that public hearing to July 29th. That's a Wednesday at 7 o'clock, where they are going to have the development team walk through the waivers, address some of the other questions out beyond building design that the board raised, and we will start to provide them support with a draft decision on that meeting. So that's progressing well. We are still in a holding pattern when it comes to demolition on the site, so we will keep you updated as that moves forward. The select board last night did approve the declaration of surplus that was needed. That when our new legal counsel went through, they said, hey, you've got to make sure we check this box. So we'll get that posted in the central register, but that should, oh wait, now I'm all worked up and I'm fixing my project.
We're mixing the projects. I was gonna say, where does that go?
Deep breath, never mind, that was a different topic.
We did do that, but not.
We did do that, but that was a
related to
different
that.
project.
That's right.
Disregard all of that. That was for Old Town Road. We'll talk about that later. But we did give an update last night to the select board on the Governor Prince, so they're up to date as well. And again, please take a look at these these housing updates, anything we can do to make them for you or for the community more useful going forward each month, I'm happy to make those adjustments.
Yeah, can you remind me what the reason for the delay of the demolition is? I know we discussed it, I just can't remember.
We did. So under the real property disposition agreement, so this is essentially like a PNS, like a very complicated PNS that we have between the town and the developer. Prior to moving forward with demolition, they are required to meet some permitting thresholds, specifically the permitting on the federal environmental standards, NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act review, as well as state historic review. Those have not been done currently. They're sort of taking the position that there's no federal funds in the project right now. They haven't applied for any federal funds, so they should be able to move forward with those, with the demolition without meeting those requirements, but it's in the agreement. So we are just trying to sort that out going forward.
Timeframe? I mean, is there
Actively working.
is it like a watch going now, or you don't have any idea when you might get dispensation or?
Actively, very actively working on it. They're talking to officials at HUD, so you can imagine how that's going. But try again. We do have some grant funding. We have a $500,000. So it's very important for this board to stay up to date because the funding that they will be using to do the demolition of the property, it will be all public funding. So it's the $500,000 grant, the $650,000 grant that we got from the state, as well as the $1.5 million that this board has allocated to the project so far. So that is the money that'll fund this demolition. So
Thanks.
we'll make sure to keep you guys updated as we go forward.
I have one other quick question, Elizabeth. Is it your sense that the concerns that were raised regarding design of some of the buildings, Governor Prince, is that going to be a real obstacle, or?
Well, so we did hear concerns both from the board and from the public at the first meeting. The architects for the team at POA and HAC came back with revised drawings in response to some of those comments and things that they had heard. The board seemed to think that though the changes that were made by the architect were again very responsive to the comments, and the board seemed pretty comfortable with where we're at. There were some additional comments made relative to sort of massing at the center of the building that the board asked them to look at, but for the next meeting, I think, again, they're looking to shift the focus to, again, sort of the other aspects of the comprehensive permit.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Item number 5, we're gonna have to delay here a little while, right? Since you're getting some of the fun stuff out of the way, you wanna talk about 22 Old Town Road?
Yep. So now I will talk appropriately about 22 Old Tote Road. I apologize. Again, so we, on behalf of the board, I presented this to the select board just to affirm the vote that we took last month on the declaration of surplus. We'll get that posted in the central register. I did not get it done today, so we'll get it done next week. And going back and forth, so we have drafts of the 2 affordable housing deed restrictions. Like, huge kudos to our shared regional housing coordinator for this. This is not a skill that something I could have done on my own, so amazing to have that shared resource across the Cape to draft those deed restrictions for us, especially the 120% restriction. I think we're one of the first ones on the Cape to do a unit with 120% restriction, so that is very exciting. But she's been helping me work with staff up at EOHLC to make sure we get LIP eligible units, so units that are on our subsidized housing inventory, so these count. And we are just waiting at this point for our council to give us a draft of the purchase and sale. So we're moving along.
Awesome. Moving right along to item number 7, I believe.
So So the housing roundtable, I think I put, started to at least put some of the thoughts down on paper with this, got the opportunity to talk to a couple of other staff members as well as the town manager about starting up this, what she wants to call, the town manager wants to call not just a housing roundtable, but a community development roundtable, knowing that all issues of housing and economic development and all the other things that we do here in planning and community development often go hand in hand. But looking forward to putting these invitations out in anticipation of a September meeting. Love you guys to take a look at the boards and committees invited, see if that hits the mark. Again, I think for the first convening, while going forward, I think the opportunity would be to try to set a very focused agenda. I think for the first meeting, convening, talking about purpose, introducing the boards to each other, and just getting general updates from each board member will probably kick us off for that first meeting, and then we can talk about more specific topics, constructive topics for future meetings.
So this is being picky here, but do you have any thoughts, or have you talked to Kim about time frame and dates of the week,
So we pulled a couple potential dates here just at the calendar. We're all very, very busy. I don't know if a morning meeting, like the chairs meeting, would work better for people, or an evening meeting as is traditional, but I'm open. So I put a couple of potential dates here. I think the intention would be to send an invitation to each one of the board chairs and ask them if they could send a representative or two from each one of their committees to the meeting.
Does anybody have any thoughts on that? Late afternoon, morning, evening? Because that's really, I think we gotta nail this one down a little bit if we're gonna get the kind of attendance we want, right? So.
Well, right, and I think I'd like to send those invitations out pretty soon, so when with all these boards do have their next meeting, probably in August, they can put it on as a discussion item and be aware.
Do all these committees generally meet in the late afternoon, like 4:35 time?
Mostly, yes. There's some committees, well, CONSCOM isn't on here, they meet
Economic
during.
development meets at 9
Yeah,
in the
economic
morning.
development meets in the morning.
Yeah.
The chairs meeting is in the morning, but, I think it's a little bit harder to get room availability in the afternoons, but, the mornings are pretty
It's
open.
like 8 a.m. might be kind of an interesting possibility for some people. They work. Scoot into a meeting beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so hard.
Or earlier, I mean, we could do it earlier, I know a lot of
7:30.
people are morning people, so I'm not, but I'll look up, I'll have some coffee.
It's really a challenge for someone who's full-time, I mean, yeah. Any other thoughts, anybody?
I had a question about the composition or who to be invited. Conservation Commission? The only reason I ask is when there are issues around conserving land versus use of land for commercial purposes or residences,
Yeah.
would it be helpful to have them on board?
Yeah, yes, I
as
mean,
part
I
of the
think.
discussion?
The way I imagine this is that who has a seat at the table might change depending on whatever issue
Yeah.
we're dealing with at the time. So, again, from sort of the Conservation Commission, I think is more regulatory focused. We do have an open space committee that might be better suited. To that, but yes, I think, we want it to be an open invitation. Anybody who's looking to sort of get in, sort of work towards the goal of better integrating all of our boards and committees' work, keeping them up to date with the priorities of the select board. I think this is really what we're trying to focus on and accomplish here.
I have a question. Would this be each board just sending the 1 or 2 representatives, or could it be open to whoever wants to come, but just a few representatives would do the speaking?
So I think it could be, so I think my idea is that it would be posted as a meeting, which is a little awkward because they're not like we're not an official multi-member body, but I do think we should post it in accordance with open meeting law and make it available and open, noticed to the public.
Yep.
So yes, certainly any members could come to avoid having to cross-post it as a select board meeting and an affordable housing committee meeting and all of the meetings. I think participating members probably should be limited to less than a quorum, but anybody else from the public, whether they're a board member or not, could attend. That's my thinking on that.
Seemed like it'd be helpful for us to even just be able to listen
Right.
to things that come up.
Yep.
It just concerns me a little bit, 'cause unless we get the Nauset room, we could have some real seating capacity issues. right?
Absolutely have to be in the Nauset room. So these 3 dates, the Monday, Thursday, Wednesday. It's really nice when you have a fifth week because then boards that are regularly scheduled, like ours, that meet the first and third or the second and fourth. When you get a fifth week, it's nice because then nobody has a meeting. So maybe going forward, if we're aiming for quarterly, we'll always try to aim for that fifth week to avoid room conflicts. Every once in a while, you get a month with 5 weeks.
So to your question, anything's fine with me, whatever best accommodates the need.
Yeah, we gotta get it out there and start working on
Yeah.
this, but, I don't know, I don't have a feel for it, that's why I'm asking, how do you guys feel about it?
Morning versus afternoon?
I personally like mornings. Do you satisfy everybody,
It's not gonna happen.
with every selection? Let's start with
Was
what
that
works with us and
Yeah.
move back with the hosts.
That's true.
I suppose, at the first meeting, that's one of the agenda items,
A great idea.
think about that ahead of time. Congratulations, I'm so excited that this is.
Yes, right, it'd be so
this
great
is
to see this.
happening.
Finally.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to invite Andrea as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
right.
to be the dominant, committee.
I think the one committee that should be included, which is not here, is historic preservation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just because I think that personally, there's a real sensitivity to being sure that the Historic Preservation Commission is included in more stuff than they have been.
Okay.
But I think it's also, given the hoo-ha about the arbor/binnacle being torn down, and I think there's some real interest in what's the role of historic preservation vis-a-vis housing and economic development. So I think
Yeah.
to exclude them would be too bad.
Good.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think it seems to me, I think pick the date that seems to work for us, and then if we don't get the other thing is, because we can do this as an RSVP,
Yeah.
if it turns out that only 3 people are gonna come, we can notice that we can recognize that the time is not right, and we can cancel it and reschedule.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the other advantage of not making a quorum meeting and blah, 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 blah,
Right.
is that you don't have quite the same problems of canceling something and rescheduling.
Right.
So it would seem to me you just have to do the RSVP far enough in advance to understand if people aren't coming simply because the time is wrong.
And do we want to ask for feedback when we send out those invites?
Certainly.
And just say we're welcome anybody, and that could open up all kinds of different venues, but. it
No, but we
might-
could do a little poll and take
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
3 and see
This
which
this is what we're
preference is.
thinking, here's our top 3 choices or something, but if you could rate or something, I like that idea a lot. Good, okay.
All right.
Question, is there a place for Old Kings Highway in this? I know this is an organization that's legislative, has the power of law, the power of no. But at the same time, they cover a swath of the Cape that's densely populated.
They do. Much like Conservation Commission, I think about Old Kings Highway as a regulatory board, not one that necessarily, and not that they couldn't, but that their charge is primarily regulatory and not advisory. So I think what we're looking to do is capture advisory boards. And OKH does an excellent job there. They must run themselves very well, because I never, they don't come across my desk too often.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the next one is yours as well, or unless Mary wants to give us some input, but
If I can, I think we have, oh wait, are we at 5?
No, 10.
No, we're not. Okay, so we'll wait till 5. Yeah, if Mary wants to give some input, I just wanted to make sure that the trust was aware that the select board has been going through charges, especially looking at charges for multi-member bodies. Obviously, a lot of discussion around the housing committee, as it's one of those boards in flux. I know I had a couple of meetings, one was where we were leaning towards just fully consolidating it with the trust, and another one where we were talking about keeping it active but reducing the membership to help deal with some of the quorum issues. So I think you guys are still reviewing and making recommendations, but again, wanted to keep the board updated that is one of the things that the select board is working on, I think maybe even for fall town meeting.
I just bring it up too, as you know, we spent, you and I and Fran, the last couple of meetings, we've gotten together for setting agendas. We talked about our 10-year plan and assigning some of those action plans to folks. So does that put a little bit of a timeout on assigning, because there might be,
No.
You don't think so? Okay.
I wouldn't stop, no.
No, I think there was
Yeah.
some real interest at the select board last night for this committee to be more active than it has been, to be more proactive, I guess is probably, and more forceful in moving forward. So I would not suggest waiting for anything. I would just go forward, and if we get our hands slapped, well, but I would rather that we continue to assign, to meet the goals of the plan, however we see best to do that. But I would not wait for us to think about which committee is going to be. I would just go for it.
Okay, very good.
Tom, is our group being asked to make our recommendation regarding the trust board and the housing committee?
No.
Or is the select board? That's kind of what it sounded like.
You have not been asked. No, you have not been asked. And I think that's, we had this discussion about some other charges last night, and I think that I think the staff is putting together recommendations for how these committees, commissions should sort of organize themselves, and I'm probably saying this not the most artistic way, but anyway, or artful. And I think then those recommendations are being made to the select board for us to say, yeah, we like that idea, or no, we don't. And then the conversations would be had. I think there's, with the committees, commissions, there's also active to talk to the committee commissions to look at the charge first, and then bring that for the staff to look at and decide what they want to recommend to the select board. So at this point, last night it was said that yes, Kim was definitely thinking of keeping both, with slightly different charges, but that's as far as she got. So I would just think it's in flux, and so I think we just go ahead and do what we think is appropriate for here, and just move ahead. But I think if you have specific thoughts, because this is all new to me as far as the difference between the committee and if there are specific thoughts that you have about one or the other, or the configuration, those are all valid, and I would suggest we have that conversation with Mark Reel, because that's who's really putting those together.
Yeah,
So
what's-
we had set out, if it makes sense to resurface it, I can dig it up, I'm sure. We set out a charter, so to speak.
Yeah,
This is before we ended up moving on. But if that can be some kind of a directional, or at least, contribution to the mix of decision-making,
yep,
that'd probably be helpful, because we, at the time, were all, the committee members at the time, I think we were a full committee, had all agreed that, yes, this is what we thought our mission and purpose and reason for being was. So
Yep.
I'll see if I can find that
Yeah,
and
that'd be great.
resurface it.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to, share that with Mark and just say
Sure. Sure.
these are our discussions. Because I think we have to, I'm taking this all as a time to go, okay, what's different because we have a larger staff capacity than we've had historically. So, and I think it's a time for the select board to say, we've got all these people who are trying to do really good things in town and want to make a contribution, and we've asked them to do things over time. And are those relationships still the right ones? And if they are, great, and if they need to be tweaked in some way, let's do it so that we're all clear of, what our roles and responsibilities are. So I would view it as that.
And, if I could add, I do think, especially when we're talking about housing, and the role of the Affordable Housing Committee, which was outreach, education, advocacy, certainly when it comes to that, I think it places staff in a more difficult position to be leading that up than it would be a more
But you guys have done a great
independent
job.
committee.
Yep.
So I do think there's some value, and I know, again, I think as our agenda shows, like this board has been taking that on because you have a strong interest, but I do think that is a very important component of housing and supporting housing going forward, and whether, there's enough capacity on this board, depending on how many members we have, or there's another small group that meets as needed, as a committee that focuses on that. That's what we should be evaluating
Yep.
going forward, but I think
That's why I want clarification,
Yeah.
because in just a few months, when I was covering for Alexis, when she had, a few things going on, Andrea, before you, she was on me like, Tom, you gotta, if you're gonna take over here, we gotta make sure with this and that, and I agreed, but all year long, we didn't really address stuff that was assigned to the Affordable Housing Committee. We just did it. You
Well,
guys.
a lot of the work was, Elizabeth was basically taken on in the interim. But did I hear you say, Mary, that there was consideration of a committee, but a smaller committee, so that we didn't have the issue of four or to meet for quorum?
Right.
Was that something that was under discussion?
that was a proposal so we had
Yeah.
sort of staff
Yeah.
conversations, and the issue identified with HC wasn't need or interest, it was quorum.
Right.
And so one of the options that we talked about was having a 3-member committee that doesn't necessarily meet monthly, but meets on a more project-based level, like we did, for example, for the Lifetime Learning series. That we could have posted those as committee meetings if we had wanted to.
Right.
Like, you could have done that way.
Well, I think if I can speak for our group, when last we were together, I think at the end of the day, the issue was
Yeah.
not whether it's a separate committee or this, that, the other thing. It was really an issue of, there are certain things that need to be done, and they should fall to a certain set of people that have the responsibility for executing it. And that was what we thought was the issue. So whether it's multiple committees or one, as long as the tasks that we sought to address were
Addressed.
assigned or
Yeah,
addressed,
right, right.
that's all that really kind of made a difference.
No, and I think that's happening in all the committees.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's-
I think
that's
we're
smart.
all stopping, because one of the concerns I've had has been, just in the committees that I've been part of, is really being sure that everybody understands what it is they're supposed to be doing, that everybody's clear on the mission. And then also being really clear on how we're evaluating, did we do what we were supposed to do? Because I think, it's all very well and good for all of us to put our time in and to be here, and bless our hearts for doing it. But if we don't have a way to say, did we achieve what we were supposed to do?
Right.
And if we're not, and to that extent, if we're not held accountable,
Bingo.
and is that because we weren't given the resources? Is that because we weren't, we changed our mind? Whatever it is, these things happen. But to kind of leave it out there as not addressed, well, then at some point, people are going to go, well, what am I doing this for? So there's
There's a lot of that,
yeah, well, there's that piece, I think, for volunteers to the town, to feel like okay, this is my job, this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm gonna be held accountable, and then we should celebrate the hell out of when we've done it really right. Because that's, why do you do these things? It's because you've achieved something, and there's some celebration that it happened, and how cool is that? So I think that's where we're trying to, get to. And I know it's frustrating in the meantime where we're kind of, was I supposed to? So forgive us for that, but I think we're moving along.
Good.
Well, and again, we met on Tuesday, Elizabeth, I, and Fran, to talk about today's agenda. But we did it last month or 2 months ago, but, we keep talking about this 10-year plan, and then it just, we keep talking about it.
Uh-huh.
We keep talking about it, so, and you kind of just said it really well. Elizabeth handles an awful lot of it. So maybe it's not even an action plan that's on there, but if it is, then let's take note of that. This is what we've accomplished, this is what we haven't. So this is just a little stickler with me, because I was heavily involved in Mass Mutual, putting the sales division's business plan together. And that was a big deal. I mean, it was really a big deal. And an awful lot of sales folks, as you can imagine, wanted nothing to do with it. They put it in the corner and it sat there as a dust collector. But I think we just have to decide, this is the analytical side of Tom talking here again, but do we talk about it quarterly? Do we talk about it bi-monthly? But I really think if it's part of the 10-year vision, we have to just decide how do we want to address the items that have been written out.
Yep.
I did just a couple of thoughts. Since having been on the housing committee and then joining this August body,
I thought you were my buddy.
It's occurred to me that there's a lot of overlap in information that both groups need to have, and you end up having the same presentation 2 nights.
That was a significant struggle
Which
before we
seems like
merged,
this
yeah.
doesn't make sense, and
Right.
whether it's maybe something creative like we are all meeting together and then we have a spin-off group, whether you call it an ad hoc committee or what, but that we're all together to hear some really basic information.
Yeah.
Different kind of model, maybe.
And it could be
Yeah.
just that, it could be as simple as, we start by meeting together,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then one group stays here and the other group goes to the
Yeah.
Nauset room. I mean,
Right.
that's,
Yeah.
Well, if you
that's fine,
follow
too.
our behavior rather than what different organizational models say we do, our behavior as a group has always been, we're kind of opportunistic. It's not like there's a certain regimented,
Right.
defined responsibility with throughput schedules and due dates. It's kind of when something needs to be done, there's a group of people within either the committee, the trust, or a combination of the two that steps forward to do it. And that's all we're trying to, I think, do. It seems to me that at times we burden the whole thing with an organizational structure. It's really kind of getting stuff done, and we don't really need to have, a firm organization to do that. We can just hopefully, make assignments based on the talent that we have, and have at it.
Well, I was going to suggest that we think in terms of the subcommittee, that would maybe not meet regularly, might be populated by 1 or 2 people from this group, and then open it for other people to join. Because it reminds me of when I was on the Historic Commission, we started talking about a historic district on Main Street.
Right.
We created a subcommittee.
Yeah.
Most of us were on it, but we also had other people
Yep.
who were part of it. And so getting back to this.
I love that idea, and that's kind of what Susan did when we
Yeah.
did that Lifetime Learning series. She brought a couple of people from the trust, she brought a couple of people from the outside. We met sort of on our own and had a specific outcome that she was driving us towards. And it worked really well, she did a great
So at what
job.
point might we, however, if you're maybe too informal, do you potentially run afoul of open meeting rules? If you say we have a subcommittee, but we have an informal meeting pattern, and then people start to get together, do we veer
Yes.
potentially into a
We
danger
create a
area?
formal
Well, the other thing
subcommittee.
is-
It just has to be posted, it's
Can-
not the end of the world, it's just,
Can I,
posted.
I'm sorry for cutting in and being rude here, but Kim's online and we have it scheduled for 5 o'clock. So how about if we continue this discussion, because I don't think this is a light, it sounds simple, it sounds so basic, but I think there's more entwined here than meets the eye, and I'd like to continue with the next month's meeting if we could, okay? But if you want to introduce Kim, I know this is, you've been involved with this baby, so.
Sure, no, actually not, which is why I think we are so glad to have Kim from the Harwich Ecumenical Council for Housing on board with us. Really appreciate you.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Kim and I
Nice
have
to meet
just
you all.
emailed.
Sorry I couldn't make it in person. Summers are tough with everything going on.
Oh, yeah.
We're all juggling. She has a little leaguer too, so we know how it is. But Kim, we just invited Kim because I know when we voted on that last loan, I think it had sort of brought to everybody's attention that, this was a program that had been started well before my tenure, and we are starting to get towards the end of the allocated budget. We thought it'd be great for Kim just to come in, give us a refresh on the program, talk a little bit about the capacity and the need that her organization and the need that it's filling.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for letting me come to the meeting. I appreciate it. Sounds like you guys have a lot going on. I know how that goes from my other meetings. I'll just quickly introduce myself and the organization and then talk a little about the program. I'm Kimberly Borgia, the Executive Director of Harwich Ecumenical Council for the Homeless. We have been providing affordable housing solutions for almost 35 years now. We own and manage 41 affordable units. We have evolved and now offer other programs and services along with our affordable housing. We have a child care center, as well as we offer one-time emergency rental assistance programs for anyone Cape-wide, basically. And then obviously what we're talking about today, we've been running a housing emergency loan program since, I want to say 2012. We started with the Community Development Block Grant, which then evolved into the municipal funded housing emergency loan program that we're talking about today. Basically, the program is for low to moderate income borrowers of the town. So for now, we're talking about Orleans. I know in Orleans, it's kind of a slower program. We don't see a ton of low to moderate borrowers in Orleans, but we do get them. And actually, we've had a couple in just the past few months. So we're seeing a little bit of uptick in actually, we're seeing a big uptick in the program across all of the towns that we use. So any low to moderate income borrower, which actually moderate income is a pretty significant amount now, so a good chunk of change, if they're making somewhere between 80 and 90,000 and below, they may qualify for the program as long as the repairs are eligible. It is an emergency only program, so I don't want you to think we're out there just fixing whatever. We can only fix things that are at fail. So roofs that are leaking, siding that's letting water infiltrate the home, doors, windows, basically the same thing. If it's letting water infiltrate the home, that it's, getting inside the envelope of the home, basically. Heating, hot water, septic systems, that kind of stuff. Any of those things that are at fail, the program can help. They do have to income qualify. It is a process that we go through. It's a mortgage that they're applying for. It's a 0%, no, I'm trying to think, hang on, because give me 1 second, because Orleans is a little bit different. Yours is on the in perpetuity, so it's a 0% loan that's deferred until they sell or transfer the property. So the loan stays on there until they sell or transfer the property, and then it would come back to the town at that point if they sold the property. So that is the one problem I've had. I don't know why in Orleans it has been a stumbling block that sometimes people don't want the lien on there in perpetuity, but we work around that, and we have had quite a few applications that have gone through the town of Orleans. We've had 10 applications over the past, I want to say we started in 2017 with the town, 10 applications. Right now, the maximum loan amount is about $25,000, but as Elizabeth knows, now from 2017 to now, the cost of construction has gone up significantly. So I'd say in other towns, the average loan amount is somewhere around 35,000. So something to think about if you're considering any funding at all. But right now, it is 25,000. So when we started the program, we would get $100,000. We would be able to help at least 4 people out of that. And then can ask for funding when we ran out of the funds. So it's been a really great program. We have been able to help about 11 people over the lifetime of the Orleans program. I don't think any of them have sold the homes as of yet, so I think they're all still out there as a lien on the property. I'm trying to think if there's anything else you need to know about the program. I think I've given you the gist of it, so I think I would rather open it up to questions that you might have, because I think I could talk all day about the program, but you're still gonna have questions, so I'd rather open it up and see what you guys have to say about the program and any questions you have.
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
please.
Kim, do you have volunteers and paid staff, or
Yes.
and what's the
We're
balance?
Mostly paid staff. We do have some volunteers over on the Children's Center. Our childcare program has a lot more volunteers than we do, but we do have volunteers on the HEC side as well, but mostly paid staff.
And how large is your staff? Your paid
It's
staff?
small. We are a very small staff for what we do, which is typical for a nonprofit. You know, I started this job as a loan processor, loan coordinator, and as people left the organization, that other duties have fallen on me, and I don't think we've hired anybody. So right now, we have 4 staff members on the HEC side and 6 staff members over on the Children's Center side.
I'll ask another question. And what about your funding? What is the source of your funding?
So our funding comes from multiple sources. We work with federal, state, and local funding, so local municipalities, as well as a large donor database. We have a lot of fundraisers throughout the year, and rely a lot on our donor database as well. We've been around, like I said, for almost 35 years. We do have a lot of grant funding that we apply for as well from local municipalities, lenders, organizations. So we have a significant amount of sources where we get our funding from.
So you said that the Orleans program is different from other towns. Why?
So some of the towns, so a lot of them have started to move towards the way Orleans does it. So originally the program started as a 15-year deferred forgivable loan, meaning it would be a lien on the property for 15 years, and as soon as the term expired, we would release the lien, which works for a lot of the federal funding, but what we realized for most of the municipalities was, you know, it's nice to get that funding back and kind of replenish the pool.
Right.
So Orleans was the first one that started keeping the loan on there in perpetuity. And then most of the others have fallen and done the same thing, except for, I think Eastham still has the 15-year term limit on there. But that was the difference. I had to think in my head for a second, because, you know, every time I talk about a different loan program of this particular health loan program, I have to remember which town I'm in and the different rules and regulations for that particular town.
And so but you said that some applicants objected to the idea of having that.
So we have had a few that did not want, you know, you get a lot of, I don't know, I want to say Cape Cod lifetime, people have been here a long time and they've paid off their home and they don't want to put a lien on the property. So we have come up against that a couple times. I don't know if it's because, and you know, it was the same in Chatham, so I don't know if it's Orleans and Chatham having sort of, you know, maybe a higher median income and that maybe is the mindset. But I don't run into that in other towns, but it hasn't stopped us from running the program. We've still, like I said, been able to help 11 people with $25,000 each of funds. I can't do the math in my head. So we have been able to have a success with the program, but there are a few that kind of balk at in perpetuity. So I think it's just a lot of them are looking for that term, but I kind of agree with the lien being on there until sale or transfer. It does replenish the town funds, and I think it's kind of a necessary. I explain it that way now when I talk to people. You know, these are town funds. You know, it helps replenish the pool for other people that need help in the future.
Relatedly, Kim, I'm just envisioning a scenario where a senior resident or couple qualify for this 0% loan, 20 or 15 years later, sell the property, but they really don't have the money. Do they tend to build that money that they owe the town into the selling price? Is that
Yeah, so
usually?
it would get taken care of in the estate, so.
Okay.
None of the loans, we look at the loan to value, none of the loans, I don't think I've even come across one in the, however many years it's been, I want to say 13 years that we've been running the program, or 12 that I've been involved with the program. Any of them that we would ever run into a situation where the property was worth not enough to be able to pay the loan back. So it would be taken care of in the estate. Generally what happens, the closing attorney or selling attorney gets in touch with me, they ask for a payoff amount, and it just gets processed through the fund. So it would say the loan amount was $25,000, whoever is selling the property would get $25,000 less of sale proceeds.
Okay, yeah.
Kim, another question. In a more perfect world, would you like to be able to find grant sources and donor sources to completely cover your need for lending, as opposed to relying upon the towns to respond to you and with their sort of idiosyncratic, needs or requirements? But ultimately, would you rather just have a not self-funded, but a funding process that's not related to them?
We've looked into it in the past, and we have not found a lender or donor or a grant that would have enough funds to be able to give us that amount of money. To give you I'll give you kind of a scale of what we're talking about. So in the town of Yarmouth, let's say, just because that's where we do the most loans. So to give you an idea, so Yarmouth, I asked for $300,000 to $500,000 of affordable housing trust funds every 3 years. Sometimes I'll have to come intermittently in between and ask for more. So we have not found a source that would be able to fund enough money to do that besides the municipalities. I mean, there is federal funds that are available, which we have used before, the Community Development Block Grant, but that all depends on each town and what they're utilizing their Community Development Block Grant funds for. So there is that option out there, but we find some towns are using that Community Development Block Grant funds for open space or historic or something else, and they don't have enough for the affordable housing block of it. So this particular avenue seems to be working really well for some towns. But each town is different.
Okay.
I had a question. Could you say a little bit, Kim, about the one-time emergency rent program?
Yeah, so we have been running a Cape-wide as well as a couple municipal rental assistance programs. It offers up to a certain amount of funds depending on the town, somewhere between $1,000 to $4,000 depending on the town, and we have a self-funded one as well. If somebody's going through a temporary financial crisis, they lost a job, they're going through some sort of illness, or for whatever reason they can't pay their rent, we will offer them some help to pay their back rent and get them back on their feet to keep them housed. We also offer help, we get this one a lot, first and last. So if they're trying to get into housing, coming up with the first last security is usually very difficult. We don't help with security, but we can help them with first and last month's rent to get somebody housed. So it's a great program. There are some towns that offer a monthly stipend for up to a certain amount of years, so say up to $500 a month to help offset the high cost of rent. Ours is just a one-time need-based assistance.
And how is that the same or different from the HAC monies that are available for the first and last kind of payment?
It's similar, it's just different funding sources. I'd say we're probably a little bit more lenient than the HAC one. There's a little bit more because it's federal funds through HAC. there probably is a little bit more that they have to go through. For us, we just need to see a year-round lease. We need their landlord to sign a form stating how much that they owe and that this particular payment will keep them housed for another 6 months. And they just need to show a need for the funds. So a letter or a notice to quit or something, something that shows that they need the funds at this point.
And do people self-identify to you, or are they referred by other agencies to?
We get a lot of referrals. I'm sure some of us, with our social media and our website, I'm sure some people find us that way and through word of mouth, through our employees and board members. But I would say, 85 to 90% come from referrals from other organizations.
Two questions. One is, do you ever get referrals from the Navigator program that Orleans is a participant in?
The Housing Navigator, yes, we're a participant on that as well. We do get calls from the Housing Navigator. That's more for our housing than rental assistance. So if we have a unit available, we put it up on the Housing Navigator and we will get calls about those.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether I inadvertently sort of confused it. There's a process or an organization called the Navigator program that towns use. A lot of times it's interventional.
I don't think I've heard of that before. So if that is something, I will look into that because of course, we're always open for more referrals.
Dick, is that Outer Cape Health?
Yes, it is.
Outer Cape Health, it's derived from, it came from Outer Cape Health. It's part of what they do. But the various towns commission them to work with first responders and other individuals who face off against community members who may be in some distress. And sometimes housing is part of that distress process. And they do, and then they try to act to offer some solutions for them. But it's something for you to be aware of.
Absolutely, I'll definitely look into that.
That's why I brought that up. The second thing is that you have, do you ever apply for grants from various towns that are general grants, not related specifically to your 0% loan program, or any other aspect, just simply grants that help you with your operating needs?
Yeah, so we have quite a few annual grants that we do yearly, either to support, or it'll depend on what the grant is. So we do have grants annually that support our rental assistance program. We have grants that support annually a human services grant that'll support the housing side of it. We also have numerous grants for our child care. We have a tuition assistance program for the child care. So we do have quite a few annual grants. I'm always looking into new grants that will help with any part of our programs and services that we offer. We do a lot of supported services. We help about 1,500 people a year, I'd say, with supported services, just giving referrals or resources to other agencies that might be able to help them if we can't. We just recently applied for a grant for bringing some of this out-to-date systems for the Children's Center up to date, because they're still using a paper-based system for tuition assistance, which is, I don't know how she does it, but, so yeah, we definitely reach out and apply to as much funding sources as we can.
Okay.
Regarding the child care center, could you just say a few words about who's eligible? And it's actually a preschool program in addition to tuition assistance?
Yeah, so it's the Children's Center is on Sisson Road in Harwich. We have been running the Children's Center for over 30 years. It's a early education child care center for ages 2.9 to 5 years, so before they go off to kindergarten. And we are the only tuition-based child care center on the Cape. So if you come in and your income only allows you to pay a certain amount, our weekly rate is, I think it's $300 a week now. But if you can't pay that, if it's $150 that you can pay, our tuition assistance program that is funded through donors, grants, a bunch of different, our fundraising events, a bunch of different sources. We'll offset the other portion of it with our donations. So it's a fantastic program. My son went there for 3 years. Most of our staff has had children in the program.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions here? We got a lot more items on the agenda here, and I promise we're not gonna go too late.
I should know this, Kim, but do you know if in Orleans, the funding has been coming from CPA funds or from other unrestricted funds?
It originally started with the CPA funds, but it was transferred over, I want to say, 4 or 5 years ago to the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay, okay. And we're surveying households at 80% AMI?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Kim, thank you. This is great. Do you have any additional stuff that you want to cover with us?
No, I just wanted you guys to have an opportunity to ask about Hedge, learn a little bit about the organization. If you guys have questions in the future, you can reach out, just give me a call or shoot me an email. Elizabeth has my contact information. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you have any referrals, we do have housing units that are coming available. If you know of anybody that needs housing, we do have a couple of applicants in the town of Orleans right now that we're qualifying. So I know we're bumping up on the end of the funding that's been available for the past, because it was a 5-year grant that was transferred over. But if you want to up that and you want me to come in again, I'm happy to come in at another time. I'm sorry this one was over Zoom, but I'm happy to answer any questions at any time.
Well, thank you. This has been a very informative session. Really appreciate you taking the time to get us up to speed here. I know I just learned a lot, so.
For sure.
All right, well, thank
for
you
having me. All right, thank you. Have a great day.
as well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, moving right along here. It's 5:30 already, everybody. As usual, we're gonna be cramming.
So before we move on, and maybe, we can do this at the next meeting once we have a little bit more time to process and think, but I do think it would be good to have direction from the trust on really 2 things, like, do we want to, I know we've been talking about moving towards a format of sort of managing and marketing our programs more discreetly, so we can say to the community, here's our rental assistance program, here is our, help homeowner loan program. Do we want to set a budget and allocate specific funds for this, like we have in the past? Again, we can always draw from the bit larger pool of the trust, but it does help for budgeting purposes sometimes to say, we're going to set aside X number of dollars for this program, and then we'll evaluate, how much more it needs. Do we want to specifically encumber those funds? And do we want to take a look at those program guidelines per Kim's recommendation that the $20,000 cap is fairly old in terms of a maximum loan. The cost of construction obviously has risen exponentially. Do we want to think about raising that cap? So we can do that now, or we can do that at the next meeting. But I do think it's important that we think about, again, how we budget this and come back and look at those program
Yeah,
guidelines at some point.
if everybody's okay, I'd like to move to the next meeting, and we have a discussion coming on about CPC and funding here as well. So, we're gonna have to, Elizabeth, I think, have a way more comprehensive discussion on the budget coming up as well, right? And that's why I wanna get to the start of the plan.
Yep.
Then here, it's just so we can allocate, or not allocate, we can take a look at key priorities for us
Great.
and prioritize that, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think we're up to item 8 here, right? If I'm following my agenda correctly. Trust postcard would be the first one under item 8A. I don't know who wants to talk about that.
Is that this?
Yeah. Do you want to say something?
Yes, sorry, I'm just making notes.
Okay.
I don't have Jennifer here to make these notes going forward. So at our prior meetings, we had talked relative to our efforts around sort of outreach to the community and possibly down the road, maybe even shifting towards more of a fundraising model or trying that specific to some of these programs. Putting together a little collateral piece that just says, hey, here is what the Affordable Housing Trust does, and here's how to contact us So I will say we have a fantastic summer intern. Her name is Stella Youngkin, and she is quite design oriented. So she put together a couple of options. They're in your packet of different postcards, just to again start to get feedback. What's good to add to these? I know Susan. I think Susan took a look at them and gave some initial feedback. So thank you to her. For that work. And again, so I think the idea would be, as we are tabling at community events, which we'll talk about that later, I think more and more, we're trying to find ways to cohesively connect our community to the resources they're available. Just a little piece that you could hand out and sort of give that elevator speech of what the trust does and why we're important. You have the copy of those in your packet. Again, they would be designed to be sort of, I should have brought an example, front and back postcards, but just for the purposes of discussion. Printed them out on one page here.
A general mailing?
We could do it as a general mailer, certainly. So that's up to you all, and I'll turn it over to Susan. I think this was her brainchild, so.
Well, we kind of talked about it in one way as, we need more members and how do we recruit people? And so, the idea of any opportunities to hand out a postcard, whether it be the farmer's market or the library or town meeting or whatever, would be helpful, couldn't hurt, right? And a mailing is an interesting idea, but costly, but interesting. So, yeah, I would just say I really love this second design because I love this picture of the bold of livable Orleans. I like the message of that, which is we want a community that includes families, workforce, and housing solutions is part of that, as opposed to the first one that kind of focuses on the building aspect. I mean, I like them both, honestly, but I wonder if, I guess I'm thinking back to that meeting I attended at the CDP where we talked about housing crisis fatigue. And a move toward, community building and economic development. This feels a little bit more, the second one feels a little bit more trending in that direction. But I'm excited about this. I love to think of where we might use it, different ways, yeah.
Are we supposed to evaluate or choose or what?
Yes, feedback.
Yeah, how do we
I
get the
have some
exposure? That's what I'm.
Good.
Well, the one says we meet weekly.
Yeah.
I don't think that will attract many people.
Holy smokes.
I really like them, and I love the new Orleans town design. I don't know when that came about, but I love
Yeah,
it.
isn't that great?
Um,
Give this to Amanda.
I agree with you. I love the livable Orleans. The one thing I'll say about the second, like having worked at CDP and now at HPC and doing a lot of marketing for advocacy and programs, if I wrote something like this and brought it to marketing, they would say, try again, too much language, no one's gonna read it.
Too many words.
I always get told to make
Yeah.
things more like this, bullet points, bold, kind of separation. So while I love everything it says, I think the breakup, you're gonna get more people to look at that.
So this is a front and back,
Yeah.
right? But are you thinking, what would you cut or what would you bullet?
I could definitely, like, after this, look at it and
Yeah.
find ways to
Yeah.
shorten it, but, even if you don't shorten it, just breaking it up. Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, I'm inclined to go with, this is a softer,
Yeah.
down sort of everyone's normal level. I think you make the QR code bigger, more apparent, so that is something someone would avail themselves of. And I agree with you about verbiage.
Which really bothers me, by the way, because I'm like, nobody reads anymore, come on. But that's what marketing is telling you, like, they don't.
And if you're only gonna pick it up at a farmer's
Yeah.
market and look at it for a
It's
second,
true,
you
there's
really
a lot
want
of
to.
You
stuff
gotta
that
get
goes-
on
How it
the hook
jumps
in the
out.
first thing.
Text,
It's true.
There are always fashions in these things.
I kind of like this format because it does with colors and,
Yeah.
very succinctly placed design and verbiage. although this message
Yes.
is,
Got it.
I think, the best, so, you know.
How's it getting out there? Who's the audience? I'm missing something.
That's a big question too.
I don't,
Right here, recently, a potential new member to the trust is a perfect audience for this, because
No,
we're
but-
trying to recruit more of you, or Mallory's also recently joined, so, this is
but I'm saying,
really.
how are we getting it out there? Are we gonna send
Oh.
6,000 postcards to every resident of Orleans? Are we gonna, like you said, put it in the Chronicle and the weekly newspaper, Cape Codder? I'm trying to get a vibe on what you guys are thinking.
I'm even before that, what do we hope will happen because we did this?
I hope that we get people calling Elizabeth and saying, I'm interested in learning more about this board. Tell me what they do.
So is it just?
That's
but-
one
Yeah,
thing.
okay.
The other would be people who aren't necessarily interested in being on the board, but have a strong interest in a livable Orleans, whether that's housing or, the arts or whatever. And, who, calling Elizabeth and say, you're gonna look at all the calls, that's what we
Good, please.
saying,
I get too many calls of I'm unhoused and I need help, so it'd be
Yeah.
great to have, I want to help.
Right, but just, who would I call to participate more in X, Y, and Z, I guess.
Well, on the surface, I think they do two different jobs in certain respects. I mean, one, this one, whichever one seems to like its tone and its kind of manner and everything, does a really good job of positioning, if you will, the trust. And it asks for involvement, but that seems to be less the issue than the overall livable Orleans feeling to it. This asks for something specific. I mean, it very specifically says, get involved and learn more as a
Yeah, action.
primary message.
Yeah.
It's tertiary or secondary in this one. So if what you're trying to do is actually recruit people, this is the stronger of
Yeah,
the two.
put the call to action in there.
The tone may be different, but if you look at what job does this do versus what job this does, I think that it's that.
But I guess, the issue you raised earlier about accountability, why are we doing something and what do we hope to have happen as a result, I think is a good discussion. And if we didn't recruit a new board member, I'd be disappointed. I'd feel like this didn't work, and why, and we'd have,
Yeah, that's
that
why
would
this
be
has
one
more,
thing.
has more of a call to action, if you will, to it. I mean, more immediacy.
Yeah, like
You might not
get
like the
involved
tone or the look, but in terms of what it does as a working piece of communication, that's what the other one does.
I think the other
Far
thing
better.
that, even if no one called Elizabeth, if someone reads Livable Orleans and sees, yeah, we need a workforce, yeah, we need families, we need not just me retired here and living a happy life. What makes community, I guess, some thinking about that. And maybe that doesn't pop out enough here, or how do you measure someone's thinking that's affected by, I don't know.
So
Fran,
I'm seeing mixed messages here, or mixed, because it's one thing to say you want to recruit board members. Okay, that's fine. I mean, every commission wants to do board members, so that you're not alone. So, and I guess so part of it is, is this the expense you want to do to recruit board members? Because this is an expensive proposition just to try to get 4 more people to be on the board. So that's my first question. Second thing is, so if you got 4 more board members, are we really clear that once they walk in, we actually have something to give them to do, that this is what we want them to do and this is how we're going to take an action? Because I don't want anybody coming in and going, okay, but now what's the deal? So that's the second piece. The third piece is this concept of the livable Orleans. That's not something that I see the Affordable Housing Trust pushing. That's something the town should be pushing. This sounds like a much bigger, I'm reading this going, I would love this to be the town of Orleans wants to be a livable Orleans, and so this whole future, this is what the town is doing. So I'm wondering, so they get in touch with Elizabeth, but they're saying, well, I'm really interested in what's happening with recreation, because that's not listed here. And that's really, but that should be, I mean, by reading this speaks to me for the whole town, not just, so it should be like, this I would see as, this should be leading into something that the town is doing, not just promoting the trust. I'm
And again, I think,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it comes from the idea that, you know, the housing availability is at the core of a lot of the sort of issues that families in Orleans are facing. So, but when we talk about housing and affordable housing and building and development publicly, like that, you know, when we use that message, it sometimes generates pushback. Whereas if you think about building community and the cohesiveness of community and supporting families in a year-round, that messaging, you're still accomplishing it through building, preserving, making housing more affordable. You're just approaching the messaging around it differently. Did I do a good job on that?
Yeah, so I guess I'm just, you know, if somebody reads this, they're gonna go, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Okay. I'm,
There's no call to action.
Yes,
I'm just, it seems like it's aligned with so much stuff that the town is doing, that piece, you know, I guess I'm just seeing, so, you know, they'll call you, but I'm not sure, because that puts you in the position of having to figure out, okay, this is a person for the board, no, actually I have to send this person to recreation, no, actually, so I'm concerned about I love it, but I'm not sure that it seems like the trust is getting in the business of promoting the town as a general piece, as opposed to, no, I really want you to be part of the Affordable Housing Trust because I've got 6 things I want you to do.
Right.
see, I was
I
thinking,
kind of
sorry.
think-
Oh, go ahead, Millie.
I get what you're saying, but I see it as the hook. Like, why? Affordable Housing Trust, why? Because we want to create a livable community for everyone at all income levels. I'm reading it as the hook. Like, I see Affordable Housing Trust here, and I'm pulled in by Livable Orleans. I think it is a good, like, whether it's Livable Orleans or something else, like Orleans for everyone, whatever you want it to be, I do like that, like, kind of provocative language, like something big to get you, to pull you in.
But could we have another hook? Like, I was thinking, the discussions we just had about ADUs, or, you know, getting senior folks to possibly get some kind of, that might want to sell their property or expand it into renting it out or something. That's what I think, you know, we've talked about doing, is I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Well, look, you've got 2 sides of, what is this, a 4x5 card?
Yeah.
There's only so much information that you can fit and
Right.
expect anybody to digest it on a card that has 2 4x5 sides.
Right, but-
So, you know, adding more information is not gonna add more clarity.
But again, let's
So-
go back to Mary's question, what are we gonna get out of the card? What is the Affordable Housing Trust Board?
It
Gonna
says
get
on
a-
both of these things,
Yeah, I mean,
in different ways,
get
it says the
involved
same
and learn
thing.
more.
Get involved and learn more about housing. It's very clear, one is just much more overt about stating it than the other. It's different language and a different tone and manner that's essentially saying the same thing.
Right.
I think you could split the
Okay, I'm
difference on the
picky
two,
here.
right?
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's.
Who does it go out to again? Are we gonna send 6,000 postcards?
Well, I think
Are we
that's
gonna-
something for discussion, is kind of like how you're gonna disseminate it is as much a valid discussion as what it says. So if you're sending something in the mail, it's gonna get more attention than if it's a card sitting up in a coffee shop.
Right.
But the expense of one versus the other
Right,
is,
but we need to talk about that, because
Yeah.
I love the cards, by the way, so I'm not coming across that way. I just don't
you have to start somewhere, right? You have to have something to start the
So,
discussion.
I like them, I like them a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid we're gonna do a lot to get a minuscule.
So between
Yeah,
Mary
I agree.
and Elizabeth, do we, because the town sends out a lot of things in the mail, or not a lot, but has been sent out recently more than previous years.
Yeah.
That's my sense. Do you have a sense that you get engagement or response with that?
Yes, direct mailers are very effective.
Direct mailers are more offensive, because you don't know
Like
what
it's-
value you're
yeah.
getting when you put it in a newspaper, and people aren't reading a newspaper for this. Or,
Is
so,
So what at least my experience with the Lease to Locals program, we've done a wide range of advertisement, everything from doing an announcement at the Firebirds to doing a direct mail, and we always get the biggest bump when we do direct mail.
okay, so how much, so let's shift the conversation then. Before we get into, like, how much does a mailer like that, what are we looking at as an expense that we have to accrue or set aside in the budget to get a mailing out of, regardless of what it says, just what would it cost us to do
I can
it?
tell you. I mean, thousands.
Yeah.
I want to say like 3,000, maybe like
$3,000.
3,500
Oh,
for a
that's-
townwide mailer.
I actually thought it was gonna be more than that.
It might be,
If you look at
yeah.
if you look at our community and everything that we're doing in our budget, is a $3,000, let's say $3,800, just for argument's sake.
Do
Is
these,
that an expenditure against an initiative like this that we think is reasonable?
well, if it is little or modest, it may be a good idea. Partly because we've been kind of scolded for not making ourselves
Yeah, yeah.
known
Yeah.
and what we do know.
Yeah.
So that's a start
Yeah.
there. And it is a shame you have to spend money to tell the people who hired you to go, anyway, but nevertheless.
Way of the world.
But more importantly, would these be sent to permanent or year-round as well as just all property owners?
Certainly, we can
You can
we
say-
can do those lists
Yeah,
however
because
we want to
that-
do those lists.
The people who are semi or annual or not permanent residents are actually targets of some of the things we talk about what happens to properties over time when they turn over and that kind of thing. So I'd want to make sure that we got everybody.
Right.
Who do we go to, town employee, to help us get an estimate of what something like this will cost?
Oh, I apologize for not bringing that. I can do that because again, we've done it a couple of times for Lease to Locals, and and Amanda is sort of the expert.
So if there's
Amanda Converse, our
experience that we
public
can learn
information
from it,
officer.
that's an effective use of communication, then, you know, like, and then, once we figure that out, let's just figure out which, you know, how we want to approach this. It's
Yeah.
really pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can iterate the design, but, you know, the comment that you guys made that really resonated with me is like, let's make sure we have ways for people to get involved when they do call. So, and maybe as we iterate the design, maybe we should make sure that we're thinking about like here, you know, obviously we need a couple members, but like I love this idea of these sort of ad hoc committees that work on more specific projects. Like, let's make sure we have a really good structure for that before we do something
Can
like
we
that.
reframe this a little too? If, you know, things are up in the air, but as of right now, we are one committee that absorbed another. This is a great way, this is a bit of advocacy, I think, when you say like livable Orleans or whatever the hook is, and you may not get that quantitative data, but you're gonna get the qualitative, like your goal, right, is housing advocacy here. That's one arm of what we're doing right now. So you wanna have like phrases and household names and get people starting that conversation. So I'm kind of seeing this as like split the difference between these two, kind of streamline it a little, and maybe it does double duty there.
And I know we just talked about fewer words to get a message out, but, and this would make more words, so it's not so good necessarily, but, you know, if we wanted the audience to be slightly bigger in terms of not just volunteers, but potential donors or
Donors should be
of
on here.
property,
Yeah, yeah.
is that something we weave in here with a bullet point or
You do that with
something?
one word, donation.
Donations.
Donor, interpret that as you will, start a conversation.
Donations of cash or
Well,
property, yeah.
we dance around it with fundraising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's really something broader than that. And I want to feel really comfortable about exactly what we're ready to open the conversation with if we throw something like that out there, because there may be some iterations of it we could develop that would make it a longer conversation and a more interesting one.
Okay, I'm the bad guy. It's 5:51. This thing's got a lot of legs behind it. So we'll put it on the August agenda as well. Please, everybody, think about it, because I think if we all take a step back and really, we want to be concise, we want to include a lot, we want to make it I mean, there's a lot of moving parts right now, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a recommendation at all. So if we could just put it on August's agenda and everybody think about it, please, we would all appreciate it, I think. Okay? No, that was easy. Let's go to 8B.
Housing Resource Fair is an effort we were talking about with the town of Brewster, again, to do sort of a direct outreach to residents both in Orleans and Brewster, to talk about all the amazing resources that we have. Thank you to Mallory and Susan, who helped me start putting this resource sheet together that's in your packet. Again, something that I hope can iterate and live over time. I know a couple of people have sent me comments, so we'll continue to evolve this. But the story on the Housing Resource Fair is this: when I went to call the middle school to schedule the resource fair, they said, "Oh, didn't you already book that?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And then, sure enough, the health department came over and said, "We are holding a community resource fair in September." And so they kind of got the jump on us, but I talked to the folks in the health department. They were very open to making it a collective effort, and again, we would have partners over at Health and Human Services and Recreation. Their vision was a little different than ours. Like, we had talked about like a very sort of focused, like after school, like just come in and do your thing. Theirs is like a Saturday extravaganza with a food truck and a touch-a-truck. Which is fine, but I think it's great opportunity, like on our part, to be able to, again, sort of amplify housing. They got the idea from Harwich. I guess our health team went to the Harwich Resource Fair, and they said a lot of the questions and people were coming in, did have questions about housing resources. So they thought it was great. I sent them our list of folks that we wanted to invite. So I'm still waiting to hear back from Brewster and what they think about all of this. It was a little awkward. Yeah.
That's never happened to them, right? That's the way to look at it, right? It's fine.
Right. I don't want to be like, well, we're not doing it with you. We're doing it with the health. But I think it's going to be a great event. So, and I was remiss to not put the date down. It is. I will get you the date. I think it's Saturday the 27th from 10 to 2 at Nauset Middle School. And again, as we get closer, we'll have a flyer. And again, if there are folks who you think should be invited and at the table, please send me that list. Again, the idea would be that we would have sort of a resource sheet for folks coming in. So again, whether you're there about an accessory dwelling unit and you're a homeowner, or you're somebody who's looking for, looking to get into rental housing, we really want to make sure we're marketing it broadly to folks. So that is where that stands.
Cool.
Yes. Kind of a-
Are ADUs on here? I was just thinking of it.
I don't think so. I think the ADU Resource Center at CDP is a little bit in flux, but
Okay.
I'm sorry, so it's the 26th, Saturday, September 26th, from 11 to 2 at Nauset.
What do you need from us in terms of thinking ahead to that date?
That's a good question. Let me circle back with help, and I'll reach out to you, Susan, because you've been very helpful. And again, I think taking a look at this community resource list, if there's anything else that you think should be on here. This could get really unruly, I think, if we put everybody on there. So I really want to be thoughtful about like creating a curated list. But this is also very helpful to me. You know, I am not a housing navigator, to Fran's point, but I do get a lot of people that come into my office looking for help with housing. So having something that I can hand them that say like, you know, here's where I would start is very, very helpful. So this will get a lot of use. So any comments on this would be helpful too. I'll keep you updated on how the fair situation progresses.
Do we have a table banner that says Town of Orleans Housing or something
Ooh,
like
we
that?
do have a table banner for Orleans, thanks to Amanda, but we don't have anything housing specific. But as we think about a collateral postcard or other things, like maybe it would be good to think about that leading up to
Yeah,
the
brand
fair.
name.
That's a good,
It's hit them with housing.
Yeah.
that's a good idea. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah. But again, you know, I think certainly anybody who wanted to come to the fair and represent the trust. would
Okay,
be-
any other comments on this? How about 8C, training for the group here? I think you guys know I met with Amanda Bebrin, and she is gonna come speak with us all in September, but I asked her for us now, not have to wait till she comes with her new hire she just made in September, could she give us something to just, that's out there, easy access via the web? So she put the sheet together.
So that is this sheet here, if you want to hold that up so folks know.
In the
We
packet.
each got one, yeah, and I'll make sure you get one too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll send it out to you, I'll send it out to you in an email, so you have all the live links.
Just know this is gonna change when she comes again. She just hired someone and they're kind of working on the training agenda for 2027. And I told you, Chapa, they're out of Boston. They're trying to work really, putting an elaborate program together with CDP, but that's just beginning. It's in its initial stages, so time will tell. But thank you for that.
It'd be great to, when we're a little farther along, talk about what should be mandatory training
Yeah.
versus optional training.
I'm trying to really kick myself. I wanted to spend some time on this.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but, well, let's spend some time.
Good reading.
No, it's 6 o'clock. We got a couple more items on the thing here yet, so, but thank you, and we will. We
Yeah.
definitely
We
will.
kick everything down the road, we never can.
Yeah.
We're making it, that's a good meeting.
At the pace we're going at, with our passion, guys, we'll be here at 8, 9 o'clock in most meetings. So I'm not gonna lose anybody because, man, the damn meeting's about 3 hours long, right? So, but we will elaborate way more on that. And again, get ready for Amanda's gonna come in September, so
Good.
I think it maybe a spin off of that would be, I know a few people that I would really, Mallory and Susie, that I would think would be great to be our advocates for the training of this group and whatever else is available. Okay, so help me out here, Elizabeth. It's, and guys, everybody, we got 3 more topics that we're not gonna get to them, right? So the CPC is really a time of the essence.
Yeah, let's do number 9 for sure.
Okay, I'll let you roll.
All right, so as a parting gift, Jennifer reminded us that we have an old CPC grant. So instead of just granting blanket money to the trust, this was specifically for public education materials about community housing. There's a balance of $8,822 in the grant. So I was also strongly encouraged by the coroner office that to come up with an immediate use for this is FY22, or put it back into the pot. We have been, what? The CPC pot, not our pot.
Well, it seems.
So use it or lose it?
Use it or lose it.
Exactly.
Like FY22 is too long, been sitting around too long. So there was another grant too that I was spending down. I used those for the rental assistance postcard mailers. I've done a couple of those. Some of the signage we put up, the big sign at Governor Prince. And the one that was out at 107, when it was out at 107. So those are some of the things I have used it for. But if
What's
you
the
have any
stipulation?
ideas.
What's
Public
the restriction again?
Public education materials about community housing is what it was granted
Okay.
for.
Doesn't that intersect with what we just discussed.
Absolutely.
That's what I
There's our
got.
funding.
Postcards.
The postcards,
and-
yeah.
Their
that's-
outreach.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Housing resource materials.
But time's of the essence, that's the thing.
They just want us to encumber it, like, and let's say, okay, we're gonna use this much for this project, get a quote, and.
I'd say circle the whole thing.
All right,
And what's left, you can throw back in if
Okay.
they're, you know, hard
Well, let's
on.
make sure there's nothing left. I mean, that's what budgets are for.
I hate that. I hate doing that. Spend it before you leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, include the banner.
I was
Yeah,
saying
the
that.
banner.
Oh, yeah, like a table banner.
Table
All right.
banners, all
Yeah,
that
I-
stuff.
Definitely get the people.
All right.
I like
No,
that
and
idea.
I think our 10-year plan also really kind of spoke to the idea potentially of reaching out to segments of our community like seniors. And if we were to do focus groups or something at the senior
Yeah.
center to try and get some
I'd love to do that.
conversations going, and we wanted to bring refreshments, and we had materials, and, you know, we could cover things like this HESH loan, as well as rental assistance, as well as donating property trust, you know, I
Oh,
don't
love
know.
that idea.
yeah, maybe we could.
It's like an ad hoc
Okay.
committee idea.
Encumber,
Love that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'd be happy
It's a good
to
one.
work with you on that.
That'd be great.
Perfect.
and because we have the new logo in town, we have to have all new stuff anyway.
Of course we do.
So.
All right, I'll get some quotes on these things, even if we don't have them all figured
We'll
out
Take the money, though.
yet. We'll make sure we
Take the money.
take the money for it and we can
Yeah,
work on it over the
Can
course
we
of the
defer
year.
the legislative update, or do you think you can get it done quickly?
No, I provided some links for those who were issued. Obviously, rent assistance or rent control got kicked off of the ballot, so that is not moving forward. 21st Century Road to Housing passed or went into law, however it went into law.
Who cares?
But lots of interesting stuff in there. Talked about it this morning at the Home Consortium meeting. They're excited. It lifts the income limits from 80 to 100 for home and CDBG funds. And we'll watch those provisions as they come through. And
It would be nice to know if somebody like the outfit you just mentioned was doing a deep dive into this and laying out the relevant things for places like Orleans.
Yes.
Instead of us having to go through, parse it out.
I've yet to find that resource, but I'll keep looking for it. I'm sure it's brand new. I'm sure as it happens, it will evolve.
Yeah, I'm just, so we're not duplicating
Right.
efforts to
I hear you. Yeah.
make ourselves
Yeah,
understand this. I'm
and-
sure there'll be consultants on your doorstep.
Yeah, if there's money out there.
momentarily, offering their services, but
Yeah.
nevertheless.
And we're closely watching the economic development bond bill as it works its way. I think the House passed it and now it's with the Senate or vice versa. But lots of good housing stuff in there, buy rate, housing development on church property, on religious properties is a really interesting one. Yes, we call it Yes in God's Backyard. And other things I didn't even know about, so we'll
That is
provide an
in
update.
the Massachusetts bill. Interesting.
Yep. So we'll give you more updates on that then.
Yeah, I don't know what the procedure has been previously, but if there are times when, you know, the committee should be sending something to Julian or Hadley, I hope you're doing that, which I guess you probably are.
Yeah, and certainly down the road as we start to develop programming and have funding requests, those are great for bond bills too. I've done that before.
Yep.
So, just something to keep in mind.
Okay, so this is probably month number, 6, where the 10-year housing plan priorities gets moved to the following month.
Yes.
Elizabeth, thank you for the spreadsheet that you sent to us.
Right, so this is just, again, that sort of consolidated, and then I added sort of the implementation, where we're at, the implementation evaluation.
Thank you, and here's what I'm gonna ask, that we move it forward to next month, but I'm gonna ask you, as you put the agenda together, it's not number 11 or 12 or 15, it jumps right up near the top,
Got it.
okay? And let's just kind of come to an agreement that we're gonna go through it,
Yep.
and if we have to defer some of
Keep us
the...
accountable.
Yes, please,
Yep.
okay?
No, you did a really good job putting all this stuff together. These are really valuable links, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like the power of capacity, I can't say enough about our summer intern. It's great having an extra set of hands
Really.
to do all this stuff.
Awesome.
She's amazing. She did everything that cleared my backlog in like a month, so.
Fantastic.
Just really, really great
Let's
program
take
supporting,
advantage.
thank you to the youth of our community, so.
How long does the summer run with her?
I'm right, I said, how long did I have? She has to go back like in mid-August, so. But she comes here for the summer, so hopefully we'll get her next summer.
Take advantage of her for sure.
Yeah,
Right,
she's great.
right.
She's grad student UNC. so.
Okay, we have several items we said we're gonna keep talking about, and I know you wrote a lot more than I did over there early on. Do we all wanna agree with things for future agenda items? And does anybody have anything that we didn't cover today that you were hoping that we would, or you'd like to add to a future agenda item as well? I mean, we got enough for a big-time meeting in August as it is, so I'm
We had
not
talked about
soliciting.
bringing the commission in to do the regional housing strategy in August. Do you wanna defer that, or?
I think so.
Okay.
I really want to get number 11 done. I'm
Yeah.
going to be a stickler with
Yeah.
that one. and just-
Yep.
So if we defer something from one meeting, why don't we kind of make it as a whole fast rule that we will solve it by the next meeting so that it doesn't get kicked down a third month? If we postpone something from, today's meeting, when we meet next month, whatever we postpone should be addressed and solved. Otherwise, these things just keep snowballing and we never feel like we get any traction.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I
Suggestion.
no, I like it, and I agree with it, except for one thing. To say it's going to be resolved is,
Yeah.
that's wishful thinking. Okay,
Well,
so-
set a low bar and you'll get a low jump. I mean, may I move that we make a resolution that when we postpone an agenda item from the current month, that we will make it on the top of the agenda the next meeting, and I don't know if we can say do our level best to
Address
solve
it.
it, but something so
Address
that
it.
it just, there's some specific language that makes sure these things don't linger.
Couldn't agree more. And
So that,
I,
that's a movement or a motion?
We discuss.
Well, you need a second, I'll second it.
Okay.
all in favor?
Can we discuss?
Discuss it. Discuss it.
Great idea, Scott, but also, like, thinking of this, when we had that extra meeting, this was exciting stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was disappointing that, like, I mean, I work 9 to 5, but I'm happy to do an additional meeting to get through this. Like, if it doesn't work, the bumping things, like, does our meeting have like a specific time that it has to end, or can we do additional meetings? Because like, I'm fine with that. I'd come in another day just to get through this, because
Yeah.
I thought it was really great, and it's unfortunate to have to put the pin in it, and then it's like, it's been so many months.
Well,
We did that.
I've been told by numerous people, sorry, Susan, just to don't go beyond 6 or 6:30, because you're going to lose everybody. I've been told.
Mr. Chair, we probably should address the motion, and Mallory brought up a good topic, which is separate from the motion. So we should get that, you have two orders of business almost. One is a motion, the other one is an important suggestion.
Okay.
I'm not trying to, but I think we should probably just make sure we do things the right way, just vote on that, or table it even if we want to.
Just to add on to your comment, Mallory, I think we did have an extra meeting, at least one, maybe two, to talk about the 10-year plan priorities. And that's such a big, there's so much in that.
Right.
To cover it in regular meetings just may be too difficult, and it may require some additional meetings now.
I think it wouldn't be bad,
Depending
like, I
on
really
how
do
you-
feel like we need to set our priorities, like, here's what we're gonna work on for the next 3 years,
Yeah.
and
I'm
make
sorry
sure
to
we
get off your
that down.
topic, Scott, because I think that's a
Yeah.
great,
No, I think they're the
that's a
same
great.
topic.
No, but they're
Surface
same,
thing. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
They're just two sides of the same coin.
I think, I'm just going to throw in, maybe it still sound like I'm being a little negative. We have to be very careful here that everybody's committed. If we do an extra meeting,
Yeah.
because this was the topic at one meeting. God forbid, people were sick, people
Yeah.
couldn't make it. the majority of the agenda that Elizabeth and I put together when I was covering for Alexis was to cover this topic, and we didn't get to it because we couldn't have a quorum, we didn't have enough people at the meeting. So I just want to make sure it goes out there that this is a commitment from everybody. And I totally agree with what you said, though. So where I'm coming from, again, I'm anal, I'm analytical. I think getting this plan together is very, very, very important moving forward.
Can I call the question on the motion? And what we want to do with it, I don't know, but whether we vote on it or table it, I just think we should get that out of the way. So there's no confusion in our minutes, and in fairness to Scott who put this forward.
So can you repeat the motion again, please?
The motion is, let's see if I can be succinct and accurate at the same time, hard, to ensure that when we postpone the discussion of an agenda item to the next meeting, that at said next meeting, we make those items, or that item, the top of the agenda, and that we complete to our fullest capabilities that agenda item conclusion or resolution, or depending on what it is, it'll have a different outcome, but that's it. We get two, in other words, we get no more than 2 meetings to address and try to finalize an agenda item.
Or close it out or something?
Make progress on it.
Yes.
Get it done.
Stretch.
I will tell that to our lawyers who keep putting 22 Old Town Road on our agenda. Every month for the last 6
That makes sense.
months.
So, yeah, I think it's great.
I tell them
I just
Board
want
of
to add
Ed.
something to your item here, and I'll ask for help from Mary and from Elizabeth. As we're putting the agenda together, you know, the introduction, proving the minutes from the previous meeting, there's certain things that have to go first, right, before we would just jump to the outstanding item from the previous meeting, I would think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Approving minutes
Okay.
could
Yep.
go to the end.
Well, it
That's
was
not a
always
problem.
at the end.
Yeah, that's fine.
We
We can
moved it to
always
the
do that.
beginning
Just
2
moved it
meetings
to-
ago.
Yeah.
But
Public comment needs to
I'm all
go
on-
first.
I'm
yes.
all on
Right.
board in public comment, correct? So there's certain things that have to go, but I love where you're going with this.
Yep.
So, do we have someone second the motion, or?
The question, yes, and he called the question, so we have to decide to vote. So you need to, yes, you need to vote.
Can we
Someone
vote?
needs to second it, I
I'll
guess.
second
It was
that.
seconded.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep,
Now we get to vote.
yep.
Okay.
Well, last time I went to Mallory, and I said, no, we got 2 questions, so Mallory, I'm gonna go to you. Are we prepared to vote?
Yes.
But the question was called, we
I
can't
called
ask
the
any.
question.
No, I'm saying, I
No,
just.
that's a yes.
What's that?
I called the question
So you can't.
about the motion that Scott
Right.
had introduced.
Yes, we need to call a vote.
Just get that
Now
out
you
of
have
the
to
way.
call the
Calling
vote.
for a vote.
I'm calling for a vote.
Okay.
So-
All in favor?
All
I
in
do it.
favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Okay.
Can
Now
I-
let's address Mallory's point.
No,
A
Mallory's
separate meeting.
about a separate meeting.
Just take another possibility would be, if we didn't want an extra meeting, one possibility would be the first half hour of every agenda, putting aside minutes and all that, would be discussion about the 10-year plan. If that's a standing agenda item, and then we move on to other things. That's another
And I just,
possibility.
we talked about this, the 3 of us, going to this meeting about doing it quarterly, that we do a walkthrough of the 10-year
Quarterly.
plan,
I
quarterly.
think that's a good idea too, but we're kind of not quite ready for
Or-
that.
I agree, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, going forward, we do it
Yeah.
quarterly, because, but we're
think
nowhere
that's a
near
good
ready to,
idea. Yeah.
so just
Anyway,
another.
that's just another thought for jumping into this.
Yeah, I would recommend we go ahead and try to schedule a separate meeting with the intent strictly to figure out, you know, sort of to really, and I don't know if we can call it a workshop meeting, because that's really what it would be, is to workshop this. Because there's the responsibility is also a person here, you know, we're talking about which committees or whatever, but it's really who's kind of driving this and how does that happen? And to be sure that the goals truly have actionable steps underneath it, or what's the strategy we want to be sure we understand what all those actions are. So I think it's a really useful thing to just say, that's what we're going to do, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Do you need a quorum for a workshop as opposed to a, I don't know.
Yes.
I would think
Yes.
so.
If it's a posted meeting.
It's an
of the-
open,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's a public meeting, so it's got to be
Yeah.
posted.
Right.
48 hours, yeah.
Scheduled,
So we're smack in the
Motion
middle,
in here
of-
somewhere?
we're smack in the middle of July. How does everybody feel about doing that meeting here in early August? Or do we defer it till September when the summer's kind of over? I just want to get everybody's feelings on that.
I'm pretty open, just as long as it's an open date for me, that's all. I don't have anything
Yeah.
special now or later or whatever.
Morning, you guys seem like morning people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I do work.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Mallory's got work, right?
Work has always gotten in the way.
I know,
Always
right?
been a problem.
So 4:30 time, Mallory, is?
I can, you tell me dates, you want morning, I can flex my schedule.
Oh, well.
Or maybe come up with a different,
Yeah, we'll do a poll.
Variety.
How about that?
Is
We'll
the
do a
third,
poll.
is the third Tuesday of the month still open with, like the NASA room upstairs?
Yeah. Yeah. As is the first, because we don't have AHC anymore.
Do we want to maybe think about doing it, be almost like back-to-back in August, but have a separate workshop just for, get our old slot back time-wise,
What's the date?
and have it be the
Tuesday
continuing plan?
wasn't so good for you, Elizabeth, though.
It's summer, it's fine. We don't start hockey until the week after.
Okay.
Hockey starts August 25th, so we're okay.
yes.
So you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
What's the date for that? The 18th?
The 18th.
If you all need morning on the 18th, I can make that happen.
This would be at 4:30.
Oh, this would be 4:30?
This is the
Yes.
fourth,
Our old.
get our old
Yeah.
time
Oh,
slot.
yeah, absolutely.
That works for everybody?
All right.
Yeah. I'm up for that.
Excellent, let's give that a shot.
All right.
So
Thank you. Future agenda items, that's how I started it off.
Tuesday.
Of August.
Do we want to do a rundown? This is what you capture and I capture? I'd rather have you do it if you don't mind.
Sure, so, well now, for next meeting, I have a workshop on the strategic plan and setting board priorities on August 18th at 4:30 tentatively, but we'll send out a couple of dates to confirm. We had talked about bringing the Cape Cod Commission in at the next meeting, but I think it sounds like to present their regional housing strategy, it sounds like we will defer that.
Well, I'm not
And-
sure now if we're gonna do the workshop though, right?
Oh, okay, yeah,
I mean, you follow what I'm saying?
I do.
I thought we were gonna spend the majority of our meeting time.
I will reach out and see if they're available.
Okay.
If not, I think we'll have plenty. Hopefully, we will have 22 Old Tote Road. I do want to come back to that Hatch Housing and make sure we're clear on program guidelines and budget. We'll probably get updates because we'll be closer to town meeting on the select board policy. I will send out invitations for the community development roundtable, so that'll be in the works. Continue the conversation on the postcard. I'll give you an update on the fair. And that's what I have.
Scott, you had mentioned bringing the charter for the Affordable Housing Committee, but, that conversation
Oh,
we were
right,
gonna
I
have
have to find,
about
yeah, I'll see if I can
kind of
find
roles and responsibilities, our input on that.
that. I'll see if I can do it.
I'll see if I can.
Can I move to adjourn?
Yes,
Second?
you may.
Second?
Vote here.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.